They tried to get in, and the Dodgers rejected them. So they were quickly, frankly, boxed in.
As a Jays fan, the Dodgers have managed to do something that they have never done before, and that is put a smile on my face as they kicked ICE off of their property. So in this video, I'm going to break down what happened, including some before and after videos. I'm going to get to the reaction, the public reaction from the Dodgers, the reaction from ICE and CBP, as well as the current polling on how people are feeling around Trump's ICE raids. So lots of great stuff to get to in this video. First, I want to share this clip. This is from Jacob Soboroff, who was at Dodger Stadium while federal agents were trying to gain access to the parking lot.
Take it off! This Dodger Stadium, and behind me, those are federal agents that appear to have been staging here after what have been a series of immigration enforcement actions in Los Angeles this morning. So now you've got protesters, media. Here at Dodger Stadium, outside the parking lot, while federal agents are there, seemingly blocked in for now. This is an ongoing and developing situation.
And in a rare instance of a corporation standing up for people, the Dodgers kicked out ICE. So they put this message on Twitter saying this morning, ICE agents came to Dodger Stadium and requested permission to access the parking lots. They were denied entry to the grounds by the organization. Tonight's game will be played as scheduled. So I'm going to get to the reaction from ICE and DHS. But here is the video of them being kicked out. So they actually got a police escort out the other way because they were, I guess they were, I don't know, hemmed in a way. That they were between the gates to the parking lot and the access to the road, but apparently there was a way out through the other side, so they opened the gates to let them essentially leave and got an LAPD escort out of there. So, you know, Dodgers deserve a lot of credit for doing this. It's certainly not, I mean, I wouldn't expect this sort of reaction from a corporation. Oftentimes what we see is the company, the corporation bowing to whatever they're being asked of when it comes to, you know, government pressure being applied on them. But this is a rare instance where you have a entity like the Dodgers actually standing up for people. Now, I thought this was worth mentioning here as well. Councilmember Ulises Hernandez, who was also at the stadium, said, quote, "We've been in communication with the mayor's office, with the Dodgers, with Dodgers security, about seeing if they can get them moved off their private property. Public property is different. Private property, businesses and corporations have the power to say not on my property, and so we're waiting to see that movement happen here." I think it's very likely that this played a major role in getting ICE kicked off of Dodgers property. Without the lawmaker being the in-between between the protesters and ICE, you likely would have seen the Dodgers, and again, this is my guess, but this is what we've normally seen with corporations. You would likely have seen the corporation bow to who they consider to be the authoritative figure in this situation. That would have been ICE over the protesters, which is why it is so important to have local lawmakers on your side, as well as, of course, congresspeople, senators, on the side of the people here in this fight against what ICE has been doing. This gets to the reaction from ICE. So to the LA Dodgers account, they said, "False, we were never there." All right. Homeland Security saying this had nothing to do with the Dodgers. CBP vehicles were in the stadium parking lot very briefly, unrelated to any operation or enforcement. So a much different account of what happened here from Jacob Soboroff on MSNBC.
Those agents showed up here at Dodger Stadium, and they were cornered by protesters because the Dodgers did not let them into the parking lot. Behind me, where people are going in for the game right now, there's a chain link fence that is closed when the games are not being played. And so these federal agents, ICE says it wasn't them, but CBP says it was their agents, so Border Patrol, they tried to get in, and the Dodgers rejected them. So they were quickly frankly, boxed in by protesters, and that's when we showed up on the scene today. And basically, this standoff, for lack of a better term, unfolded between those Border Patrol, those federal agents, and the protesters here who have been out in force every single day because of the scale and the scope of the protests on the streets of Los Angeles and what it means to the people here in Los Angeles, Chris.
Yeah, there's a weird kind of gaslighting here, right? So the Dodgers say, look, ICE came here. There were reporters who were there at the moment. There was video online, right? And then ICE says, false, we were never there. And DHS says CBP vehicles were in the stadium parking lot very briefly, unrelated to any operation or enforcement. But that feels like not that credible.
This all played out before the eyes of our own viewers on MSNBC Live. I've been here virtually the entire day, and I drove here as soon as I heard that this was going on, and we watched those federal agents basically be rescued by the Los Angeles Police Department, who opened the gates here and allowed them to go out a different side of Chavez Ravine. They didn't have to go through the protesters. One thing I want to say about this is why it's particularly raw for the people of Los Angeles, particularly the Latino community, is the relationship between the Dodgers and the Latino community is complicated. When Walter O'Malley brought the Dodgers to Los Angeles in the 50s, Chavez Ravine was three neighborhoods, Palo Verde, Bishop, and La Loma. It was Latino families that were forcibly evicted to create the construction of Dodger Stadium. And over the years, they have won back the trust of the Latino fan base to where I believe it's the majority of the fan base of the Dodgers today.
You mean ICE and CBP were full of shit? Oh my God, I'm stunned. So good reporting there from Jacob Sobrov. And it is just I included the part at the end there from his clip because it is an interesting comparison from how the Dodgers in LA started with essentially, a billionaire of the time without being a billionaire, moving them from Brooklyn to LA and evicting all these people to do so. And now, decades and decades later, here is an action on behalf of the people. Again, I don't want to treat like, the Dodgers are a perfect corporation. I don't know enough about them to tell you. I don't know. What I do know is that in this instance, they did the right thing. Whether it's because of a council person standing up for the people, whatever the reason is, they did the right thing, did not let ICE in and kick them off the property. So good on them. I want to get to one last thing here. This is some recent polling this is shared by CNN on how people are now feeling about Trump's ICE raids.
I think we can say that Donald Trump has lost the political battle when it comes to what has happened out in Los Angeles. Donald Trump's net approval rating on the Los Angeles protest. Look at this. Overall, way underwater at minus 15 points. How about among independents or those who don't identify with either major party? Way even lower. Look at that, minus 24 points on the net approval rating. And of course, this is happening on what should be one of Donald Trump's, in fact, the best issue for Donald Trump, immigration. And yet, when it comes to these Los Angeles protests, 15 points underwater overall and 24 points underwater among independents. No good.
What is the broader view of how Trump is acting and what he's doing when it comes to these arrests of immigrants?
Right. So, you see these numbers with concern to the Los Angeles protests, but let's widen it out a little bit. And I think this sort of paints a picture for you in understanding why Donald Trump's net approval rating on the Los Angeles protests are as low as they are. Take a look. Trump and immigrant arrests. He's gone too far. That's the winner here. 49%. Not too far, only 40%. So you got a 9-point lead here. And again, among those independents or other category, you see 51% of them say Trump's gone too far. And what's so important to note is that this poll was taken after the Los Angeles protests started. So this takes into account everything that's gone on in Los Angeles. At this particular point, if the protesters' idea was to focus the attention on Donald Trump and bring attention to his immigration policies and bring attention to the arrests that have been occurring of immigrants, it seems to me that those protests have been successful because you see here, 49% say Trump's gone too far when it comes to the immigrant arrests compared to just 40% who say he's not gone too far. And you don't have to be a mathematical genius to know 49% is larger than 40%.
So it turns out the protests are working. People are more aware of what is going on and they understand who the threat is, and the threat for at least a plurality or a majority of people are not the protesters. Despite the claims about riots and LA needs to be liberated, the reality is most people know what is going on. Now, of course, that is largely dependent on media, whatever media they're consuming, including mass media. Places like MSNBC have done, as I showed you, a pretty good job at reporting the reality of what's going on, who the actual threat is in ICE and Trump, and not protesters standing up for their communities. So it's been good to see that, and I think that has added to how people are feeling. One last data point worth sharing here, and that is people's thoughts about ICE raids at workplaces. Turns out a majority, by almost 10 points, disapprove of that. Again, I wish that disapproval number was higher. That said, it's still leaning in the right direction. And it shows me, as hard as it is to see sometimes, most people are good.